Week number 1 of the qualifiers leading up to the SWC, the SMITE World Championship, is complete.
That's right.
We saw 2-2-0 victories in the grand finals, both North America and Europe.
Dignitas takes it out over SMITE Gaming in the finals. It was not even close.
It wasn't, and neither was C9 versus TSM.
No,
TSM not performing the way we want. They were world champions in the launch event.
Yeah.
This time around, C9 2.
And that was a grudge match, too.
That's right. Yeah.
We'll get to that a little bit later. Let's spoil it for everyone.
But all day on that one.
But yeah, so we do have a nice little show here planned for you guys. But moving right into it here, we have a couple of teams you really want to keep your eye on.
Who do you want to pay attention to?
Yeah, who do you want to pay attention to in North America and Europe? And that's going to be our first segment. In fact, teams to watch.
Smite's changing. Competitive scene is not what it used to be. It seemed like everything was set in stone in the qualifiers leading up to the 200K. It's not the case anymore. There's a lot of big teams coming up.
Yeah, it's no longer the case that we have. These are the teams you're going to see in the finals every single week. Right. It seems like, for now at least, you never know, the teams could sort themselves to the top. But let's talk about teams to watch.
Honestly, there's a lot. There's NA and EU. Let's start with NA, of course. Down to Frag is the one I want to put my money on. I think that with the experience they have and how they showed up this last weekend, they're the ones to watch.
I don't think so. I think Down to Frag is a gimmick team. I think that they're relying really heavily on this kind of chalk and Aphrodite to sustain.
It works.
It works. It did not work in this last week, however. They did get knocked out of the round of 4. I'm sorry, the round of 8, in fact, they go out against the Game Changers, who really is the team to watch in North America. Game Changers destroyed Down to Frag.
Honestly,
I mean, it wasn't even close. Take a look at these stats. I mean, it was like 13 minutes, 13-1 when they ended up conceding.
How
and that
often does that happen in SMITE, where something poor happens at the beginning, you lose a blue buff, you lose first blood, and everything goes down from there? It's 1 week in the qualifiers. I think they have plenty of time to prove themselves. Game Changers, they have the experience, but the players they have not shown to be contenders throughout the history.
I do like that you say. How many times has that happened? Because it actually happened again over in Europe when we talk about 5i versus Worth Gaming. 5i destroyed Worth Gaming. So it happens actually twice, Dry Bear. Both times I'm taking the stats over the
Depends what you want to say to destroy. I mean, same thing, right?
I say destroyed is 19-2 in 14 minutes.
Worth is a team you want to watch. They definitely have this.
19 kills.
19 kills. 2. And that means that was a completely one-sided accidental start. Something bad happened. Everything goes down the hill.
2 kills. Maybe those 2 kills were worth it.
8 weeks for the qualifiers of 200K.
Okay.
We have the rest of the year for the championship of SMITE. The SWC going along the way. I think we have plenty of time to show it. Week 1, everything can happen in week 1, but it's what happens overall. It's the overall view that you want to look at. Worth Gaming is the one you want to watch there. They took out Exposed Secrets with a lot of high-profile names. 24-10 in under 25 minutes. This is like, I'm talking about Shadow Nightmare, I'm talking about Proxy QQ, I'm talking about the people that went to the launch event, that showed themselves over the history of the qualifiers, destroyed.
That's all well and good until they run into the superior up-and-coming team in Europe, which is 5i, who then, great job, they beat Exposed Secrets, they beat Coast Blue, but they couldn't beat another, 4th, 5th place team like 5i. And also shout out to Georges for doing the AMAs on Reddit. But for me, it's definitely 5i in Europe as the team to watch. I don't think that Worth really has it. I think it's a fluke. I think it's a one-off.
Worth is new team, new players, new ideas. They come out particularly from League of Legends or Dota, what other game. They obviously had the experience. They conquered every single person we've come to know and love in the competitive scene for Europe, and they did it handily. I think Worth has the history. i5's been around, and they haven't done much. They've been all across the board. A lot of history there. Hasn't accomplished much. Worth, the first time we ever see them, they go all the way to the Bronze.
That's true, but you can't. It's very hard to put stock in untenured players and say that it's going to be a trend moving forward. Sticking with 5i, but let's leave that for a second and let's talk about hunters specifically.
Zatman.
Zatman. Yeah. When you've said Zatman, you've said it all. I think a lot of people think, but let's also talk about Young Bay and let's talk about these 2 players in particular. Both of them have very, very difficult paths to get to this point. Zatman throws the finals in game number 3.
Throws.
It was a throw at the Global Fury. Very bad decision making. Loses the game for Dignitas. Has to come over that, practice, and come into week number 1. Young Bay kicked from his championship winning team where he played a big part of that victory. Now playing for their biggest competitor in Cloud9, who had the harder path and who was the better player.
Honestly, I think you're right. They both had a very difficult path, Young Bay and Zatman. But I gotta get this to Zatman. It's very difficult to play in the grand finals in front of 30,000 people online and at the live event. When you're from behind. You say throws. Honestly, it's a team game. They were behind by a lot at that point. He was going for the Gold Fury. He was trying to get something done, some kind of risk to get there and kind of build something up for his team for them to come back. It didn't work out.
Unfortunately, it also threw the game.
He's MVP this week. MVP last week, he earned it. Highest KDA across the board. Definitely one of the stronger players we've seen. And he proved himself by coming out last week and kind of making up for what people may have in their minds after launch.
Sure. I mean, don't get me wrong. Love me some Steve. But I gotta say, I mean, it's gotta be Youngbei. If you're talking about whose performance is more impressive given the fact that their path was so hard. Youngbei comes in, kicked from TSM, and what we don't know here is that it seems like that it was SMITE wanting to leave, right? It's Cloud9. And then TSM, he goes to TSM and says, I want to play for you, and they go, fine, we'll kick Youngbei. So coming off of that, right, and then you go to your competitor's team, and then you win in the first week. And he wins well after winning $100,000 with TSM, gets kicked, and then goes to Cloud9, and he individually destroys SMITE. So, how do you take Zatman as a better player in that case?
It's hard to say individually.
It's easy to say.
You need support, you need junglers, you need map control, you need gold. If the Hunter gets ahead because of the support, it may seem like the Hunter's the one who's doing the destroying. But
that sounds exactly like Shadow Q and Zatman to me.
You know, honestly, Shadow Q is a great player.
Shadow Q's a great player.
No, we've seen that launch event, the highlights, the tournament play. It was amazing. But Zatman has been shown to work well under pressure. MVP last week. And, you know, there's
unsustainable.
There's that that comes out, right?
He's
that
unsustainable.
Used to be. The performance we saw last week, that is a different Zatman to a higher echelon we've never seen before. And there's a reason that Zatman's MVP and Youngbei is not.
I don't know if I buy it, but I'll take your word for it. But I'm sticking with Youngbei as the Hunter that had the better path here. So let's head on over to the question of the boys from 5 Angry Men, formerly Denial. So for those of you who don't know, Denial 5-man roster. They kick out Pon, and with Pon goes Jeff Hinla.
Jeff Hinla went to Cognitive Gaming.
And Jeff goes to Cog.
That's right.
So, Cognitive clearly is better off with Jeff. I'll say it again. Cognitive is clearly better off with Jeff over Derek. Derek not performing up to snuff during the tournament, especially. At face value.
You know, that's what everyone thought, right? You see Jeff Hinla. Jeff Hinla's a big
seems kind of dry. I mean,
Razor Jeff Hinla's, right? That's what everyone says in chats, or everyone says across the board on the internet. They all want Jeff Hinla. But what happened since Jeff Hinla went to Cognitive Gaming? 3rd place.
They do place
third place. They were undefeated.
But you can't come in here and say that Cognitive is not a better team
to the launch event
because of a 1-week performance, and then say Worth Gaming is somehow good based on a 1-week performance.
But it's a downward versus upward mobility, right? You have to say, well, Cognitive was great, and all of a sudden they're lower, whereas a team that was bad all of a sudden is better.
But Cognitive, this is a better placement than they had in the tournament. So they're moving up, right? They got 3rd place this week. They got 4th place in the tournament.
They lose to SMITE.
Yeah.
They lost to SMITE. Did they lose to SMITE at all in the qualifiers or even at the launch event?
Up to that, no, they did not.
They did not. They did not, but SMITE moves on, destroys them in the semifinal round, putting them into the bronze.
Fair enough, but let's get back to the question at hand here, which is 5 Angry Men, specifically, are they better off without Pon?
Honestly, the stats support it. I think a lot of people really respect Pon. They think that he's a great player, and he is a great player. We know him, we watch him, we love him. He's a great player, but the stats don't support it. I mean, he had a big run with Thor. He was one of the big proponents of Thor, but it seemed like every time when push came to shove, Pon was delivering for them. Now, they moved around a lot. Pain Divion went to support.
I think a place a lot of people would say is really one of the main deficiencies of that team was Pain's
Freya's
play.
Not good.
I don't know. Freya not going to do it.
Stop doing it.
Please stop doing it. But I think it was it's a combination of those two players underperforming. Right. But I think the question here maybe again is, was it worth losing Jeff to lose Pon?
Honestly, I think it was. I think Dare to Care was a good addition to them. Obviously, on Cognitive Gaming, they had a dynasty launch event. Yeah. He's a great player to have. They also have Madman Mark playing Hunter, performing beautifully.
Quadra kill.
That's right, Quadra kill. Not only top of that, but of course, Pain Divion, he knows that Hunter role, now going to support. He's going to know what Madman Mark needs to support him in full essence.
I'm sure the Pain can service Mark's needs many times a day, but you know, I think that we agree here that it was for Denial and their best chance to win as 5 Angry Men. They were best off actually losing Pon, even at the expense of Jeff, because it doesn't look like it's matched
Mace,
at this point.
Rush, they still have the history that they wanted before. Their solo lane, their mid lane was still there.
But they also still have Pain Divion.
That's true.
So, you know.
Are you saying that in a bad way?
I'm saying that in a bad way. I'm saying that this is a player that was underperforming. They have him in a new role. We've seen that not really work. I mean,
support is
most recently Allied, right? Allied moving between support and range carry, kind of back and forth. It really didn't ever seem to mesh out that well for him.
You know, honestly, going to the launch event, I asked players who they were most afraid of, and they said trick stick. So support is a huge role. When you say you move Hunter to support, is it going to be that big of a difference? I think it is, but I think Pain Divion is a more home in the support role here. So we're moving on into the next topic, of course, is going to be number 1, play.
The plays, the top plays of the week. So we have a couple of them, right? We have Sayo playing the Poseidon for Cloud9.
The water
god. And then we have Agni being played by Lobster on TSM.
Fire.
So these are the plays that are up for top play consideration and really the best plays.
Who do you put your faith in?
I got Lobster. So
Lobster.
Absolutely. Look at this play from Lobster. I mean, the thing here is that he's trapped in with 4 members in an Odin ring. Great. Positioning, great. Ability to fire, hit the right abilities at the right time. All things that Lobster does well. But what you're really looking at here is clutch play, and the ability to realize when you need to turn and burn is much harder to do than something like press 4.
Okay, alright. So the Poseidon shot comes out here. Let's just get it out of the way. Poseidon shot coming out. But honestly, I mean, Lobster's audience has been a topic forever. Since
That's right. This is nothing new.
Lobster, nothing new. And honestly, it's more conceptual aspects, understanding the game, but not the technical. He's not performing a technical aspect that we'd expect him to in the Sio has. Greater purification beats, resetting and stacking cooldowns. He's recovered from so many bad fights. We saw that up on screen. Great play here, where of course he reacts to then jump on top to snipe with title surge. Raw snipe. It's slow moving, water slug coming along, but he still gets 2 of them in one fight, turns it around. I'm gonna mention Link Polynomial gonna hit over the wall, recover from that fight. I gotta give.
But I mean, I definitely give it to Lobster, and I'll stay with Lobster, and I'll leave you with this idea that when it really matters, Lobster plays better than Sio does. Especially in LAN play. Online play, maybe not, given this week, but also good time to mention the MVP from Europe. We did mention Zatman was the MVP for North America.
Half Devil.
It's going to be Half Devil, the support for Cloud9.
Used to be a sub.
Used to be a sub, now a starter, and first week MVP. Hats off to him.
He earned it.
And looking forward to week number 2, how will he perform? You know, was it a one-off thing? Will it be Lobster's TSM team being able to get their revenge against Cloud9?
Half Devil used to get a lot of flack for being just a new Kongman. He played Odin 5 out of the 6 games. He played nominally. Honestly, my concern with Young Bay. Half Devil earned his spot.
Bay?
The Bay life.
It's so
the Bay
good,
life may not necessarily be the life that C9 wants. I mean, looking at the game
Sure.
to week 1, it could be a fluke. It could be something that they're relying on heavily. But I think the strength of Young Bay is Half Devil. We talked about MVP. There's a reason that Zatman's MVP and Half Devil was MVP. He set his team up 5 out of the 6 games. He played Odin in 5 out of the 6 games. Odin was the best thing we've ever seen. And I think that's exactly what you're looking for. I want to see if Young Bay is worth it for C9, like Worth Gaming.
Oh, speaking of Worth Gaming, I mean, there's a lot of good storylines here, right? In Europe, especially TSM versus Cloud9, you got to think there's going to be a rematch, if not in the round of 4, then in the grand finals. Got to be looking forward to that one to see if Young Bay can continue his dominance over his former team. Right. Will I5 overtake Worth It as the up-and-coming team in Europe as well? Something to keep your eye on, and of course, always watch Half Devil going from support to MVP in 1 week. North America, however, we also have some good stuff going on. You know, will Jeff fit in with COG? Can Dignitas continue to stay on head? Up ahead.
Will they prove
themselves? Will the 5 Figure Men make it out of the round of 8? You know, they did get DQ'd, as we mentioned.
Definitely someone that has been performing very well. They went into the finals this time around, but Dig, looking like the Dig of old. Dig for Dig this time around.
Snipe's a great team to mention, right? Because Snipe, a team that's very emotion and momentum based.
That's right.
So the question is, can they keep it together and continue to perform? And then, of course, the teams we mentioned earlier as well, Game Changers down to Frag, who will prove themselves as a top contender in that scene as well.
Yeah, no, of course, there's a lot of things to pay attention to these weekends, but if you're looking to tune in to find the answer to these, Sunday, 9 a.m. ESTs, we're going to watch the European tournament on Saturdays, 12 p.m. noon
Eastern. With myself, Driver, will be on Sundays, guys, so be sure to tune in. Hope you enjoyed our esports show here for this week. We'll see you guys next week to talk about week number 2. Thank you for tuning in.